Welcome to Drink of the Day. Today's drink of the day is going to be a Manhattan cocktail. The Manhattan cocktail goes back to, well, there's two different stories. The 1870s is one story that it was first introduced at the Manhattan Club in Manhattan during a big festival, big party for someone in the Churchill family. And that's sort of been debunked a bit, and the real story seems to be that it goes to back to the 1860s time frame at a bar located on the corner of Broadway in Houston by a bartender named Black, or Blackie, I'm not quite sure. And so he gets the credit, I guess, for the drink. Now, the drink is basically made up of rye. That's the traditional liquor. But you can use whiskey, bourbon, rye, or even moonshine for this drink. Each of them has a different name when you're using those things. And also brandy. There's another version with brandy and rum. I'll go through that in a minute. So basically what I'm going to make it with is the Knob Creek. I've used this in some other drinks. Kind of like this drink, this particular one. We're going to use a red vermouth, a sweet vermouth, not a dry, and maraschino cherries, and not maraschino cherries, or garnished with the maraschino cherries. Not the maraschino cherries you buy in a supermarket, which are just cherries with corn syrup. My son-in-law Jeff has given me this bottle and told me these are the real maraschino cherries, and I've looked it up and he's 100%. These are the real maraschino liqueur in these cherries are sitting in. It's much darker and heavier syrup and much better tasting. So that's ones we're being snobby about the cherries in this drink today. And also this is part of this drink, a very important part of the drink is the aromatic bitters. Okay, so that's what we're gonna make it out of. Now, there's a bunch of different ways you can make this shaken or stirred. You can have it over the rocks, you can have it in a cocktail glass. I'm gonna make the traditional way of making this drink, ice in a glass. It's 2 parts rye or whiskey, or in this case bourbon, to 1 part vermouth. So 1, 2, and 1 of vermouth. And I'll leave the cap off. And the bitters. Now, the thing here is to stir it until chilled. While I'm doing that, there are 3 different, there's a bunch of different ways of having Manhattan. There's a black Manhattan, which uses a Verno liqueur instead of the vermouth. There's the blonde Manhattan, which is moonshine instead of the whiskey, and also orange liqueur instead of the bitters. There's a brandy martini, which is just that, brandy instead of the whiskey. And if you want to make it a metropolitan, it's brandy again, but it's 3 to 1 of the brandy to the vermouth. A Cuban Manhattan uses rum instead of the whiskey. You can make a dry Manhattan. A dry Manhattan simply uses dry vermouth instead of the sweet vermouth. A perfect Manhattan is a little bit of sweet and a little bit of dry vermouth. And then if you've ever heard of a drink called the Rob Roy, a Rob Roy is basically a Manhattan that uses scotch instead of whiskey. So those are your different flavors of the Manhattan. So when you're going in there, just give them your order and tell them how you want to prepare it. Like I said before, I've got a glass chilled with ice. It's nice and cold. And now I am going to strain this concoction into, after I stirred it, I'm just going to strain this into the cocktail glass. There we go. And now we're going to garnish it with cherry. Now there's a plane flying over the desert, and on board 4 people. And they developed some problems, and they only have 3 parachutes on board the plane. So one guy happens to be this doctor who's right on the verge of discovering a cure, a vaccine for the COVID pandemic. So he says, I think I should go. The world needs me. So he grabs a parachute, jumps out the plane. There's another guy on the plane who declares that he's very intelligent, the most intelligent. In fact, he's a very stable genius, and that he should, and he grabs a pack and jumps out the plane. So there's an old priest, and he's a young man, and the old priest says to the young man, listen, you take it, I've lived my life, I'd rather see you survive. And the young man says to him, wait a minute, Father. He says, there's 2 chutes here. The very stable genius just grabbed my backpack and jumped out. We're all set. So, this is one way of making the drink. This one here, it looks delicious. I'm going to put that here. Maybe not. We'll leave it here. I'm going to make the second version, which is basically over ice. And basically this way here, you're just making it in the same fashion and just pouring it over ice instead of in a cocktail glass. So it's 1, 2 pots, Knob Creek, bourbon this time, 1 pot, vermouth, aromatic bitters, and stirred, not shaken. And this is the way a lot of people have this on the rocks. It's just a matter of pouring this mixture, have to stir it over the rocks in a rocks glass. Why are we not getting it down there? And again, the same maraschino cherry. I suppose you could put it just in the glass when it's over the rocks. It's very syrupy, these. So that's it. That's basically the Manhattan, the 2 versions of them. We've got the over ice on a rocks glass, or the cocktail just sitting in the cocktail glass. Hope you enjoy your day. See ya.